listening to the Lance J Radio Show featuring Michael Jones.
If I'm a real scorer, I might just go for 80, 85 and laugh because I'm shooting J's in everybody's face.
Alan Bozeman.
Do wear double shirts. I do layer. I'm a firm believer in layering. But I don't wear double short sleeve polo collar shirts.
Crystal Darby.
Athlete I am. You know, there's certain people that may be ball players, they can play basketball, but they can't play soccer, they can't play football, you know, so they're ball players.
Jeremy Winston.
So somebody in the front office said, listen, we don't have any footage of LeBron, and we didn't prepare for LeBron losing, so put something together really quick to explain why he lost.
To you from the beautiful Emerald City of Seattle, Washington. You are listening to the Lance J Radio Show, Season 2 premiere. I never thought that we would have made it to a Season 2, but here we stand. Atwood Sports Network continues to grow stronger and stronger and stronger with each passing day. We've done a lot of work since March when we launched. We've added a business plan. We've added a board of directors. We've become a 503c charitable organization. We're in the process with putting together several distribution deals for both the radio show and for several charitable endeavors throughout the country with youth sports, youth Christian sports. The Lord has truly blessed His ministry. I'm always one of those people that believes that you surround yourself with top talent in this world of this media cycle, this 24-hour media cycle that you see on CNN, ESPN. Really, you either got it or you don't got it. There's really no in between. I'm not saying that I got it, but I had enough sense as CEO of Advent Sports Network to bring in some really, really, really talented people. And those people have carried me over the last 6 months to we're on the precipice of doing some really great stuff and really expanding this ministry and doing some wonderful things. For those that have never listened to the Lance J Radio Show before, I'll just give you a basic synopsis of how we got started. I have been working in youth basketball leagues for many years. I've done a lot of coaching. I did playing when I was younger and in shape. I became a coach and had a little bit of success as a coach. As time progressed, I got out of the coaching world and more into the administrative world, really organizing leagues of young people, trying to get into mentorship and philanthropy, building delivery systems where young people can have an opportunity to get together and have Christian fellowship through sports, be assigned to mentors, work with their local churches. One day I was at a game and there was a kid, his name was Julian Horn. I was at Oakwood Academy in Huntsville, Alabama. Julian Horn played for the Overton Park Chariots. He had a really good game. He had like 30 points. He was playing against the Madison Mission Soldiers. So 2 church teams. Julian played so well that I asked Pastor Vandion Griffin, who I've done some youth work with in the Nashville area, I said, why don't you interview this kid and let me tape it with my iPad? Elder Griffin interviewed him. It got 2,500 hits on Facebook overnight when I posted it, and the concept of Advent Sports Network was born. After that, I enlisted the next voice that you're going to hear, Michael A. Jones, who's one of my boys, an individual that has a lot of knowledge about sports, a very smart guy, a very sophisticated guy, a very opinionated guy. I said, Michael, I got to get you on this network. I need you to be a business partner of mine. Michael got on the show. We started out with a 5-minute, 10-minute spot talking about Floyd Mayweather. When I heard it and posted it, and I heard the back and forth between Michael and I, we both texted each other. We were like, man, this is not that bad. as people that listen to a lot of sports talk radio and are really into sports, just cover sports mentally, talk sports at the barbershop, kind of that weekly chop up with our boys. We said on radio, this has or at least not on radio at the time, but on tape, this has some legs to it. Over the next 6 months, we would build our show to where it was an hour-long show, really start to build our audience. The Lord blessed our ministry. We have some great people that came on and shared their testimony about sports and faith. Michael had a chance to interview Brandon Boykin, who was then cornerback of the Philadelphia Eagles. Since then, he's been traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And we have moved forward. God has really shined upon our ministry. So to kick off season 2, you heard in the promos the announcements of some of the changes at Advent Sports Network and some of the new people that are going to be on the show. Like all great franchises, whether it's All in the Family or The Simpsons or any franchise who has had some level of success, Family Guy, we're going to have a spinoff. So I'm going to introduce the current co-host of the Lance J Radio Show, Michael Jones, and I'm going to let him talk to you about his show, which will be debuting and will be the second show on Advent Sports Network, One-on-One with MJ. First of all, Michael, it's great to have you on the show. Thank you for being my boy. Thank you for being a business partner. Tell us what's good.
Oh, well, thanks for that great intro. You know, well, our normal listeners, those who have been with us the last few months, they're familiar with me. Those who may be just learning about Lance J Radio Show, my name is Michael Jones. Our host and I have known each other for, 20-plus years at this point?
Yeah, 20-plus years.
And we've gone back and forth on sports, every sport, football, baseball, basketball, whatever sport, boxing, UFC, we'll just talk sports. Sometimes you may hear us go off on other topics, but that's because it's my boy and we can talk so that you'll feel that dynamic when he and I go back and forth on this show. But going forward, hopefully, Lord willing, I'll still be able to work with James some for his show. But I will be branching out into my own show, One-on-One with MJ, which was a title that started off with the one-on-one interview I did with Brandon Boykin. And prayerfully, we will continue that series, interviewing some athletes as well. But the focus of that show, One-on-One with MJ, will be primarily MJ, me, Michael Jones, one-on-one with the audience talking sports. I may answer some email questions. I may just go on a rant for 15 minutes about how I think Allen Iverson's a bum. That being said, let me warn you, I might say some things you haven't heard before or might be considered a little controversial. Who knows? I'm just going to say what I'm thinking. And
right,
we're going to have some fun.
Let me jump in, Michael. For those that are listening, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but for those that are listening, so I had a very nice intro. Really, the bottom line is Michael is crazy. So by giving him his own show, that enables him to harness his craziness, which can be both uplifting and simultaneously toxic, all in one. That gives him the ability to harness his talents and his craziness. It's going to be an awesome show. When are you planning on launching? When are you planning on debuting, and what's your ETA?
Well, for a solo show, that takes a little bit more prep time to get ready. But, from the time we talked about the idea of me branching off of my own show, I've been doing some prepping. So I'll be ready to go as soon as, I don't want to let the cat out the bag. Have you let our listeners know about what the future plans are with some broadcast ideas you've been having, like as far as the means by which we'll be broadcasting?
Right, so that's a very good reminder. I appreciate that, Michael. So for those that are listening, kind of the second piece of the announcement, and we'll wrap up this segment, we are moving to terrestrial radio. We have had enough of a good following, and we've brought in several people who are in the media, people who have legitimate and serious radio experience that have done some consulting for us. The Lord has really blessed. We've gotten pledges with different donations. And in January, we are going to be moving to terrestrial radio. It's very likely that it's going to be 1560 KXPA in Seattle, Washington. The contract is not finalized yet, but we're about 95% sure that move is going to happen. So once that move happens, kind of what the end game is, Advent Sports Network will be a 2-hour block. My show, The Lance J Radio Show, will occupy 1 hour of that block. One-on-One with MJ will initially occupy 30 minutes of that block. And then we have a third show that we have not announced yet that's in production. That will be the third show, and that'll also be a 30-minute block. So with that opportunity, moving to KXPA gives us the chance to have access to, professional talent, a professional board, clearer radio, and also gives us a chance to be on terrestrial radio for individuals to listen live on TuneIn or archive the show, which takes a lot of work out of Michael and in my hands. One of the things that I've really, really learned in this endeavor is how difficult it is to produce a radio show. It's given me so much respect for the Jim Romes of the world and the Cowherds of the world, or even the Rush Limbaughs of the world that are on radio every day for 3 hours a day. It's a lot of work to produce a radio show. So when we make that move, Michael will immediately debut his show. So he'll be heavily involved in this show continuously. But just look for One-on-One with MJ coming very soon to Advent Sports Network. He's going to be producing and doing his own promos. It's just going to be really, really exciting times. And through the course of this show, you're going to hear some of the people that are going to be fixtures on Advent Sports Network moving on. So if you could close us out in this segment, Michael, what are some of your parting shots as far as what is your plan, what prompted you to be a part of this ministry, and what is your goal?
Well, what prompted me to be a part of the ministry, I'll take it in order, was first, one of my best friends asked me. But beyond that, and I want our listeners to know that I have always truly been passionate about sports. Mm-hmm. You could go back to when we were in high school. Mm-hmm. Of course we all played sports, but I was also the one who was reading the newspaper sports section every day, memorizing everybody's stats, ESPN every night, watching highlights, watching cutouts. And as our audience will learn as they get to know me, you referred to it as crazy. That's one way to say it. I won't even disagree with you. But I have some very outside-the-box views that I usually think are right. Let's just go ahead and say it. I usually think I'm right. I might not be right, but you're going to have to prove it to me.
Coming soon to Advent Sports Network, One-on-One with MJ, starring Michael A. Jones.
Arise and give God glory. This is the command of gospel artist Kimberly Bolgen. She commands everyone to give God praise in her hit single entitled Garment of Praise.
Now is the time for your garment of praise.
This song gives a bold command to praise God no matter what. Continue to praise God as you also enjoy Kimberly Bolgen's other hit single entitled God Chose Me.
God chose me.
Put on your garment of praise with gospel artist Kimberly Bolgen and experience a new level of praise and worship. Check out our download locations to purchase gospel artist Kimberly Bolgen's music. You can also find out more about Kimberly Bolgen on her website at KimberlyBolgen.com. Experience the power of God through the dynamic ministry of Kimberly Bulgin today.
Now remember, Riley, you're not the only one out there. Winning is about teamwork. I remember my senior year at Princeton. We beat Chris Webber and Michigan with teamwork. They still show the highlights of that game sometimes.
Wait, you don't mean
the giddy up, ride 'em cowboy dunk. Yeah. That was me.
Ugh, that's the worst thing ever.
Point is, we won.
That's what you call winning? Man, I hate to see what you call losing.
Hey, I took a charge for the team. We won!
Nah, but it ain't look like you won.
You are listening to the Lance J Radio Show on Advent Sports Network.
So, Michael, I'm going to put you on the spot. When you hear the name Ronda Rousey, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? Before I let you go, remember that we're on a Christian Sports Talk network. So censor yourself and censor your mind. Let's get our minds right. What is the first censored thing that you can say on a Christian radio station that comes to your mind?
All right. Well, my first thought, I texted that to you earlier this afternoon. We'll leave that between me and you.
Right.
My second thought is I've really never seen this level of dominance in sport since I wasn't even alive. I was watching tape of Wilt Chamberlain or maybe Mike Tyson, early Mike Tyson, where he was just knocking everybody out in the first round.
Right, the Trevor Burbick days, yeah. Sphinx.
The only thing that causes any kind of pause or reservation is that it's such a new sport with not just UFC, but a female division in UFC. We have no real gauge of how good her competition is.
Right.
Like, is she really that good, or is she just fighting a bunch of scrubs?
Right.
So.
No, I agree. If you, that's my concern too. So she's very dominant, but it's because the concept of women's fighting is so new. In many ways, shows the de-evolution of society. That we're going back towards the Cro-Magnon stage to have two beautiful women in the ring kicking the crap out of each other. But it's so new. How do we know that she's not fighting a bunch of stiffs? I mean, how do we know that? It's not like the sweet science. It's not like I know when Floyd Mayweather fights someone, and you and I have gone back and forth with Floyd Mayweather or even Tyson or Ali, but those guys had a body of work. The people she's fighting don't.
And not only did those guys have a body of work, that standard had been set years and years and years ahead. So there was always a point of reference where it was like, well, this guy was better than that guy, and that guy was better or worse than the guy before him because they fought each other, and there was always a transition where you could at least kind of tell or see the changing of the guard. With her, this is brand new, so it's like that first season of the NFL or the first season of NBA where if you watch old tape, guys were good by those standards, but as the game progressed and talent developed, probably a half-decent Division II college team right now could beat a pro team from the 40s.
Well, that's a pretty strong statement for another conversation for another day. I don't know if I quite agree with that, but here's a question for you, Michael.
Okay.
Could Ronda Rousey, who fights somewhere between 130 and 120 and 130, could she beat a man at the same weight? Yes or no?
A trained UFC fighter?
A trained UFC fighter that has the exact same, that weighs exactly the same what she weighs.
No chance. Like, let's be honest about this. You remember how strong you were when you were 18 years old?
Yes.
Do you remember how strong you were when you were 25 years old?
I do.
Do you think you worked out more when you were 18 or when you were 25?
Much more when I was 18.
Were you stronger when you were 18 or when you were 25?
25-year-old James Lewis would mop the floor with 18-year-old James Lewis, and 37-year-old James Lewis would probably mop the floor with 25-year-old James Lewis, if that's what you're asking.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm asking. The reason I ask that question is because there is no duplicate for grown man strength.
Mm.
If you're putting them in the same weight class, a grown man is going to carry more muscle mass and just have physical ability that won't be matched by a female of the same weight. Now, if you were to give her a 30, 40-pound weight advantage, maybe she has a chance. But
so here's one. I'm sorry, go on.
But I was just going to say that I don't really see the comparison where, because it's not like it's a skill sport. I mean, there is some skill to it, don't get me wrong, but strength is as much of a factor as, if not more, than skill. Whereas women versus men in tennis, you might get the woman to win. Golf, a woman might win.
Right.
Basketball, athleticism kicks in a little more. It's highly unlikely, but it's not impossible. Football, the athleticism kicks in even more. It's very unlikely. Fighting, my money's on the grown man 100 times out of 90. And that doesn't even make sense.
Well, I think, and especially if they're the same weight, you know, if the female is 6'3", 200 pounds, and the man is like 5 feet, 110, it might be a little bit different. But kind of as we wrap up, you see Ronda Rousey and Floyd Mayweather going back and forth against each other, like who's the best, who's the pound-for-pound baddest human being on the planet. And you see a lot of reckless talk by Ronda Rousey, just basically flat out saying that if I saw you in the ring, it would be curtains for you. What do you think about the concept? This world is going, like I said, the de-evolution of society. This world is really taking a wrong turn. Do you think that there will ever be a woman in a ring with a man fighting one another? Do you think that that'll ever happen in our lifetime?
Do I think it would happen? I wouldn't say it's impossible because, you know, everything these days is a new frontier. We won't look at stuff and say, that's just stupid. We'll look at stuff and say, oh, this is a new frontier. It's a new challenge. Next thing you know, we'll have a 3-year-old in the boxing ring with a grown man talking about, he's a boxing prodigy. Let's put him out there, and he's going to get his jaw broke, and then you abuse the little kid. They're going to try to throw some woman out there. She's going to get her jaw broke, and then the man's going to be the bad guy.
Yep.
Because he broke some woman's face. It might take a little while, but I think somebody will try it.
Yeah, the last thing I'll say before we break for the next segment, I think many of the men out there wouldn't mind Ronda Rousey putting them in some type of reverse submission chokehold, and I'll just kind of end the conversation at that. You're listening to the Last Day Radio Show on Advent Sports Network. We'll be back after these messages. What has it meant to you just being a part of the Ephesus Warrior Basketball Nation and just kind of playing in the Seventh-day Adventist Basketball League? How has it impacted your life?
Honestly speaking, you know, that if I did not show up, if I would have just turned my neck and said no, honestly, I wouldn't even know where I would be right now. Wow. Because that's a chunk of me. That's a chunk of me. And these are really close people to me now. You know, I wouldn't even have the knowledge that I even have right now. I mean, I did a lot. I've coached basketball. I done mentored kids. I done turned people from dealing drugs and going to jail, having a life of crime, into going to school. And me personally, I ain't even completed my own college courses. Mm-hmm. You know, I have a lot of role models that I have been able to actually show the right path to, you know, that show me the way to go. You know, I have very key people in my life that I'm very happy to know right now. Mm-hmm. You being one, you know, the experience was just nothing less than legendary and epic and great to me, and I will cherish that until the day that I die.
Sports talk, ministry, excellence. You are listening to the Lance J Radio Show.
Got to take them off of here. That's right. I got to take them off of here. There's only one, and that's me. You understand? For all that fighting, you understand? The sucker think he good. The sucker think he can whoop me. And I know he can't whoop me. Hey, boy.
You are listening to the Lance J Radio Show on Advent Sports Network.
Complete and utter dominance by The Ohio State University. Scarlet and Gray in the house. The Lance J Radio Show. I'm here with Alan Bozeman, talking some Ohio State football. Just coming off an excellent performance where Ohio State defeated Virginia Tech down in Blacksburg 42-24. Cardale Jones was very solid. Ezekiel Elliott had an 80-yard touchdown run. We are looking good. We're looking like we're primed to go back-to-back. What's going on? Alan, let's break down the game, man. What did you see?
Man, I saw what I expected. People were making a lot of hay about the fact that Virginia Tech beat us last year, and this was a game we could potentially lose. But, we are a dominant, all-time football team right now. You're talking about playmakers at every position. You have a Braxton Miller, who was a two-time Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year. Now he's moved to a H-back / quarterback / wide receiver position where he plays like a Percy Harvin type role where he can be dominant in so many different ways. You have Ezekiel Elliott, Heisman candidate, breaking runs. He only broke one big run, but that gave him ended up giving him over 100 yards. So even if he didn't have that great of a game, he wasn't as involved in the game plan as he probably would like to be. He still had a 100-plus yard game, which keeps him in the Heisman conversation. Right. And then you have Cardale Jones. He just comes out steady and just dominates in his own little way. Just looks like Ben Roethlisberger out there. Just can't be taken down. Good, smart run plays. Knows when to run. Knows when to throw it. And runs the read option. A beautiful way. And he has better vision and better speed than most people probably expected. And then again, you get our backup, JT Barrett, comes in, and then he shows what he can do. We're just a dominant football team, and I expect us to look this way the entire year without much resistance and pride until we play Michigan State. Even then, I think we roll them.
Well, that's a good start. Those things all sound good, and based on what we saw tonight, it was really men against boys, and it was similar to what we saw in the Alabama game last year and definitely in the Oregon game. Ohio State has gotten to a point where they have been able to put together and field a football team who is just physically dominant, as you said. Alan, you've been around. You've been following the Buckeyes a long time. Me and you are both native Ohioans. You're in Cleveland right now. You cover Cavs sports for us. You cover Ohio State sports for Advent Sports Network. How did this team get good so quick? You look at the Tressel years and even the Cooper years. Ohio State's always been kind of an underachiever. On paper, they've always had great and stellar teams, but seemingly would find a way to inexplicably lose to Michigan or to Michigan State or to Purdue en route to an 11-1 season that did not culminate in the national title. How did they get so good in year 3 and now in year 4 under Urban Meyer?
I think you answered the question right there when you said with Urban Meyer. I think he is the major difference. I think Cooper was a great recruiter. He did, kind of what Urban Meyer does by getting great athletes, great dominant players into your program. But for some reason, he didn't have that mental toughness to keep the ship righted towards championship football for an entire year and keeping the team focused and rallied. Tressel, he had that kind of mental focus and that mental kind of just steady the ship. Let's go this one direction. But he lacked some of the explosive talent. He had some good talent.
And he lacked killer instinct.
And he lacked killer instinct, exactly. He was a steady, efficient, smart, conservative guy, where Urban Meyer is a killer. He's an evil man. He will
Herb will put up 60 on you. Yeah.
He'll see you trying to get that last breath and then gently put his foot on your neck. I mean, he just is a killer. So, I mean, that really makes the difference between what we've seen in the past and what we see today with Urban Meyer.
What do you think? Also, as an Ohio State fan, we've been going back and forth. You see a lot of little brother to the north, that team up north, aka Ann Arbor Community College, aka the University of Michigan Wolverines, who have basically been our personal doormat the last 15 years. You see them with hiring Jim Harbaugh, who's a world-class coach, not as good as Urban Meyer, but a very good coach. They have the Jordan brand. They have the new uniforms. They went out and lost to Utah, but they have a lot of hope that Michigan is going to return back to prominence. How are we going to be able to continue to put the smackdown on the maize and blue every single year? And what does that mean? What does Michigan coming back to prominence mean for the Big Ten and just the rivalry with Ohio State? Do you want them to be good so that we can really have that rivalry and be both top 5 programs? Or do you want to continue to roll up 45-7 victories on little brother?
I thought Jim Harbaugh went to coach a high school team in Michigan. I'm not even aware of the team that you're referring to because, frankly, what I saw was not a team that's ready for prime time. I mean, I get that this is his first year, and, you know, they have to work their way up to a certain level, but you're Michigan. Right. And you can't lose that game, in my opinion, especially when you get Jim Harbaugh and you have this big splash, who's making all this noise in the media day in and day out. I mean, where's the hunger? Where's the fight? And, you know, look, do I want that team up north to be better than what it's been? Because, quite frankly, they've stunk it up and been a sorry organization.
They've been an embarrassment. Program. They're pathetic.
Yeah,
They're a pathetic embarrassment and a caricature of themselves. In Columbus, and you went to Ohio State. I didn't go to Ohio State. I grew up in Columbus, but you're Mort's Law grad. Could you imagine what would happen in Columbus if Ohio State was 5-7 for 4 out of 5 years? Like, the city would literally implode. Like, people would be rioting in the streets. For Michigan to be so pathetic and so lethargic and be soft and just unable to close games, to get whooped up on by Penn State. They lost to Indiana last year. They lost to Appalachian State a few years ago. It's just an embarrassment. I mean, it's a joke. And it's an embarrassment to the Jordan logo, in my personal opinion. I don't know what Mike is thinking.
I'm guessing you're not a big fan of U of M by that diatribe you just went on. But I mean, you're right. I mean, they're just, I don't know what it is, man. I think it's almost like we stumped the life out of them, and they're just a carcass lying on the ground trying to somehow get itself back, get itself put back together. And what they do, they go out and get the best version they possibly can, the best their money can pay for, which is Jim Harbaugh. And I mean, we'll see. I mean, I'll feel like this. You got to give him at least 4 years, let his players come in and cycle through, and we'll see. But quite frankly, I mean, I think it's better for the Big Ten when they're good, because it makes us a stronger conference. It makes our conference schedule tougher.
It does.
You know, iron sharpens iron. So, you know, to be fair, I mean, and to be honest, I really do want them to rise to prominence. However, I mean, I don't think it matters at this point. I think we have risen to the very top of the conference, and we're the standard. We're the blue chip. They may have the most championships of all time, but between Ohio State and Michigan, but I think you see in recent years we have dominated them for the last 20 to 30 years.
So before we wrap up this segment, you also get a lot of hatred towards the Scarlet and Gray, SEC, and all of their cousins. It's funny, people in the SEC, they're fans of all SEC schools. So if you're an Auburn fan and Bama wins, you somehow get credit for that chip. If you're a Florida fan and Georgia wins, you all get credit. I mean, everybody's cousins. Everybody is on the same team. Do you have, as we close out, let you close this segment out, what parting words do you have for specifically Bama fan and Auburn fan, who are both in the top 5 of the AP poll and probably will run into the buzzsaw, which is the Ohio State University at some point this season?
Yeah, I just really don't think they want any parts of us, man. I mean, again, what you saw tonight was a team that is explosive from every angle. I mean, you look at these SEC teams, man. Their quarterback play is usually pretty weak. They're big. Like Alabama's a big. They rely on their big old line and their running game, but you're not really gonna get a lot of explosiveness from these teams. We are explosive, and we have a good defense, and we have a good line. We're strong, and we have great quarterback play. Even if, for whatever reason, if someone got hurt, our backup could be starting on any SEC team, any one of them. And so, I mean, when you look at it from that perspective, they really don't want none of us, man. The only team that can beat us is us. If we lose a game this year, or if we lose and don't win a championship for whatever reason, it won't be because of what somebody else did. It'll be what we failed to do. Because right now, I just look at us as an all-time team if we play this thing right and we stay focused and stay humble and really try to just take every game, treat every game like a brand new one, because we don't have a target on our back. And, I don't see us getting knocked off by anybody.
Well, I agree. You and I, we go back and forth on various topics, but I think we're in full agreement on this one. For those listening, this is my man, Alan Bozeman, finally officially on Advent Sports Network. It's great having you on the show and just being part of the team, the dream team, as I call it. For those of us who are from Ohio and rep that Block O, baby, we are in the house. We're coming for y'all, and we're going back to back like Drake this year. Advent Sports Network, listen to the Lance J Radio Show. OH-IO.
Hello, I am Dr. Arlene Archer, otherwise known as The Life Doctor, and you are listening to the Lance J Radio Show on Advent Sports Network. Between juggling my professional responsibilities as a clinical psychologist and independent business owner, and my personal interests as a wife and mother, I make the time to fulfill my passion of helping others through inspirational videos. Join me on my YouTube channel as The Life Doctor, where I vlog on home life, education, health, fitness, and more.
So we're back on the Lance J Radio Show. I have been promising a superstar edition for quite some time to the show. Those that listen to season 1, we built a lot up from just doing a little 10-minute spot with myself and Michael A. Jones, my co-host. The show continued to build steam. It continued to get more and more successful. We had some great interviews, really started to build an audience. So I started to say to myself, who can I bring to Advent Sports Network that would just take us to the next level? How can I get a program that really has the talent and capacity to be nationally syndicated and really bring in the revenue and the exposure to church sports and to Christian activities? So when I started kind of looking at my Rolodex of people, we filled out, we got Jeremy on the show, who I went to high school with also. Alan, who I grew up with, Alan Bozeman is on the show as well. And we have a natural rapport. So then I said to myself, where can I find a female that's a legitimate athlete, but somebody that knows me, someone that kind of put me in our place, someone that's funny, someone that's articulate. So Michael Jones, my co-host, the first person he said is the young lady who I'm about to introduce to my audience. We all went together to Pine Forge. This young lady is a member of the class of 1996. She was actually the vice president of our class. I was the president. She matriculated and grew into becoming an educator and a coach and a mentor. She's played pro football in a women's league. She's played some other semi-pro sports. Right now, she has a nonprofit organization which is near and dear to my heart because Advent Sports Network is a nonprofit charity called Pick You, which is an anti-bullying campaign. And most importantly, you know, she's hilarious. She's articulate. I'm just very happy to have Crystal Darby on Advent Sports Network and a part of the Lance J Radio Show. What's up, Crystal?
What's going on? What's going on? First off, I just want to say thank you. Like, I definitely am honored to have been thought of. You know what I mean? You know, I don't circulate, you know, in the Adventist network and to know that people still, hey, Crystal, you know, this what's up. So I definitely am appreciative and thankful to think that my voice is wanted to be heard. So thank you.
Absolutely. So tell us about some of the endeavors that you're currently working with in this segment. Kind of introduce yourself to my audience. What are some fun facts about Crystal Darby that we all need to know?
Well, I think maybe the funnest fact is that Crystal Darby is going through a midlife crisis. I think it happens earlier. I decided that I don't want to teach anymore, and I don't want to make it sound as bad, worse than what it is. But I've taught for about 15 years now, and I know that I'm done in the classroom. But I know that I still want to work with kids, and so I have some things in the works that I'm working on as far as trying to get in some schools, some personal endeavors that I'm working on, some behavioral incentive programs that I think will really take off. So that's what I'm working on personally right now. But I'm actually not teaching this year. I'm still trying to decide whether or not I'm going to coach where I was. So I'm kind of in the middle of everything right now.
Well, we're all. I mean, I think we're all. I just turned 37 a few weeks ago, so I think that is that time for the midlife crisis. Let's talk about your sports background. When did you? I mean, I went to high school with you. You were already really athletic. When did you really discover yourself as an athlete and that particular talent? I mean, we went to a school with a lot of people that sang, a lot of people that preached or applaud speakers. You already have shown, like I said, you were a leader in my class when I went to school with you. What drove you to go into sports?
Well, I mean, I am an athlete, like definitely to my soul. I believe that God creates things in people, and an athlete I am. You know, there's certain people that may be ball players, they can play basketball, but they can't play soccer, they can't play football, you know, so they're ball players. Mm-hmm. You know, they have people that can play golf, maybe baseball, but individuals that can play sports across the board and do it well, I'm one of those individuals. I take pride in that. I believe that God blessed me with that. That's my talent, that's my blessing, that's my ministry. I'm an athlete. I realized that at a young age, very young age, playing with Chip, Michael Jones, co-host. He
don't like to be called Chip. He don't like to be called Chip.
Oh, well, I won't call him that anymore. But Michael A. Jones, we were in the first grade together. Actually, our birthdays are the same day, November 12th, 1978. And we were the only first graders at
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, Crystal. I hate to jump in. I'm having a little bit of trouble hearing you. You were kind of cutting in and out.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. I was saying that I played, you know, through high school and college. I played at Pod Forge. I played at Oakwood as well. But I also feel as though I may have missed out on a certain athletic career because I went to Pod Forge and Oakwood, you know, because sports aren't always the number one priority at private schools. I remember in high school wanting to go to, I think it was, one of the public schools in Pottstown because I had played in the summer leagues in Pottstown and, you know, a lot of the coaches were saying, hey, you can ball, you know, and so I was excited about that. But, you know, it's private school, we going to Pod Forge. You know, my family went to Pod Forge, we're a Pod Forge family, and that was the choice that I had. And I kind of wish that, I often wonder what would have happened had I gone to public school, you know. And going to a secular college or something. But actually, when I graduated from Oakwood and I moved to D.C. and I was teaching, I actually started working out with a trainer for the WNBA, and there were two other girls, and we were all planning to actually try out for the WNBA. And I was playing, I don't know if you're familiar, it's called the Run and Shoot in D.C. I don't think they have it anymore. Yeah, the 24-hour facility. I'd be in there till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, balling. I mean, getting my game together. And I think, honestly, I play a whole lot better now than I did when I was 17. Like, my shot is ridiculous now. When I was 17, it was retarded. Now, I've grown into a much better athlete. And I'm almost 40, which is phenomenal.
That is impressive because I'm in terrible shape, and I was just talking to Pat Green, who's been on the show. Both of us have a goal of getting down the playing weight by our class reunion for next year, so that we can run the first 3 minutes of the Pine Forest alumni game and live to talk about it. So
right.
If you're better now than you were at 17, then hats off to you.
Yes, like my shot. I mean, I might not have as much wind, but my shot is definitely much, much better. Like, I can stand and tell you it's going to go in. Back then, I was just throwing it up there. I was just,
Some of the professional sports and professional teams that you currently follow, Crystal.
Presently right now, I really focus on the Ravens and the Eagles. That's kind of like the rivalry in our household. I do watch games, college games and stuff, but I don't really hone in on because I just like watching the games because college is exciting. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, the Ravens and the Eagles are the two teams that we kind of look at. And I want to say the Eagles, they were looking all right when we played against the Ravens. I want to say it was last week. We ended up winning 27. They may have scored one time, but the Ravens aren't looking too good this season. Not yet. Not at least in the preseason. Let's see.
Yeah, they never play well in the preseason. The Ravens with that defense, they always seem to be there come the end of the year. I know this show is, unfortunately, I hate the Eagles, so I've never beaten around the bush about that. I can't stand the Eagles. I can't stand Philly. I can't stand people from Philly. I remember going to the vet with my dad as a kid to games like during camp meeting and stuff. Like I've just never liked any of the teams from Philly. I think that the people there are really obnoxious, particularly Eagles fans who've never won a Super Bowl or never really even come close to winning a Super Bowl. However, Jeremy, who's on the show, is an Eagles fan, and Michael, who's on the show, is an Eagles fan, and then Pat Green, who comes on the show periodically, is also an Eagles fan. So there are a lot of Eagles fans that are affiliated with this show.
It has to do with pride. Now, who's your team?
I'm a Colts fan.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say the Seahawks. That's convenient. Oh. Okay.
So I rep Seattle. I rep Seattle to an extent, but I put it out there. It's more of a bandwagon. I live in downtown Seattle, so you can't walk around here without getting swept up into the hype. But I'm truly a Colts fan. That's who I really set my watch to.
I mean, that's a good consistent choice to have. It's a good safe, consistent choice to have.
So, a final question before we wrap up this segment, Crystal. What made you decide, when I asked you to be a part of Advent Sports Network and be on this show, what made you decide to take of your time and actually bring your talent to our network and be a part of this movement?
Well, initially, just the name of the Adventist Sports Network, it brings to rise, it brings to rise for me a lot of questions about Adventists in sports and games and competition. And so I think that there are a lot of conversations that can be had about, playing as an athlete, as an Adventist athlete, as a former Adventist, as whatever the case is. I just believe that there's a lot of conversations that can be had, about even students now and the choices that they have to make as far as schooling, as far as, the teams that they play for, when it comes to tryouts and tournaments and traveling and whatnot. There's just a lot to be discussed, and I'm interested in giving my input because I have a lot to say, So.
Absolutely, and when we started this movement, I think as it's grown, we're looking at I'm looking at it from an Adventist lens. But there are so many other Christian people that are not Seventh-day Adventists, people that love the Lord, that want to serve the Lord, that deal with faith-based principles in their sports. I mean, people that are athletes, that are professional athletes, but they have that driving force behind them, which is Jesus Christ, which enables them to survive in that particular world. So we're not just looking at Adventist people, but I think it's a nice little starting point to look at it from my viewpoint. And I'm really looking forward to the conversations that we're going to have over the year covering various sports and just various events that are going on within both the Christian and secular communities. So we're excited to have you on ASN, Crystal. It's going to be awesome. You're going to be great. Everybody, this is Crystal Darby. Welcome to Advent Sports Network. Oh, thank you for being a part of the Dream Team. And we will be back on the Lance J Radio Show after these messages with some more sports talk and some more ministry. Well, I know there are a lot of pretty good players out of Ohio State that you could stack your roster up with, but
they have a couple of quarterbacks, 3 of which probably would fail the Wonderlic test. But, I'm not sure if that will be where we'll get our quarterback, but we are definitely going to probably be in the market for one, hopefully one with a high IQ. Maybe Andrew Luck. Definitely not coming out of Ohio State, though.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you're a Tech fan, so once again, getting back to Michael Vick, you would understand the concept of being not proficient on the Wonderlic. I think Marcus Vick also played for. I'm not even sure if Marcus Vick agreed. Like, I think that they were like giving him hand signals to do the plays. And once again, we won't go down that road.
Sports talk, ministry, excellence. You are listening to the Lance J Radio Show.
I know that's sweet science, and I got some kids who are interested. But what I got a need for, bro, is equipment. Yo, look here, man. You see the new heavy bags? Look, freestanding, man. All you gotta do is add water. Then you got speed bag right there, right? You got this headgear right here. It's new. Look. Protect the cheek and the chin, you know? And I know I can go around and collect $1 here and $1 there, but I'm trying to put together a select group of people, right? I call them my Gold Circle Club. Now they gonna make a substantial contribution and just get this thing rolling right. How much money you talking about? 10,000.
You can go through all that for 10,000? Man, Slim, go get him 15,000 cash, man.
You are listening to the Lance J Radio Show on Advent Sports Network.
We're back on the Lance J Radio Show. I'd like to introduce one of our new correspondents. You've heard him and I going back and forth several times during season 1. I'd like to welcome Jeremy Winston, director of the Jeremy Winston Chorale and also the Central State University Chorale 2 Advent Sports Network. It's great to have you on the ticket, man. How's it going?
Things are going great, man. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to continue this run with you on this great project and this great show. And it's getting bigger, it's getting stronger, and I'm happy for you. I'm happy for all the listeners out there. We're gonna get more listeners. So this is great. I'm happy to be on.
So Jeremy, I was thinking about you on Saturday night. I watched the Wisconsin-Alabama game, kick off the college football season. Alabama beat Wisconsin pretty soundly. But a play really early in the first quarter, Wisconsin safety made a tackle on the Alabama running back. The safety was hit. He hit himself so hard making the play that he actually lined up on the offensive side of the ball. So in the next play, the safety was actually in the backfield standing next to the quarterback when the quarterback was ready to hike the ball. He actually thought that he played for Alabama. That's a very interesting with the whole concept and a very popular topic of concussions in the NFL. Will Smith, who's been chasing an Oscar, one of your guys from Philly, who's been chasing an Oscar for like the last 10 years. He only does movies that he hopes will win an Oscar. He's actually playing the doctor that discovered the brain issue CTE. I'm not a medical guy, so I don't know what CTE means, but I just know that it's bad. He plays in a movie coming out this winter the doctor that discovered this brain trauma and moved against the NFL to establish this huge lawsuit where it was this multi-billion-dollar class action lawsuit for NFL players. As someone that played football, I never played football. I never strapped on the pads. I don't know what it's like to launch myself head first into a 200-pound man. What are some of your thoughts, Jeremy, on just concussions and the actual risks that come with playing a sports football, which we all love.
Yeah, this is a very interesting topic, and I think as more information comes out, as we continue to grow and evolve as a society, and we learn more, our opinions are being shaped by it. Want to play football? I mean, I played in high school, so by no means does that make me an expert on it. But I think what I was able to tap into and identify with is the passion and the amount of commitment one makes to put his body at such risk for the sake of a team and for the sake of winning a game. It's a very addicting feeling, and it's a commitment, and like I said, because it's your full body, it's everything. One of my most grueling experiences in terms of practices and work came from football practices, from early in the morning to late in the afternoon. I mean, it was a commitment above anything I had done prior to my life up to that point. And so there are these, there's this commitment. But what we're learning and what we realize is that, in our popular culture, we're used to having a villain and having a victim in a situation. And I think the way this is being played out is that, the NFL players are the victims and the NFL are the villains, primarily because it seems apparent now that the NFL knew more about these concussions, and they had medical research about the concussions than they were letting off to the players. And I think that's to some degree what the movie, at least what the trailer suggests, that the movie is going to talk about. And so I'm still forming my opinion, but what I'm comfortable with is a couple of things. I am prepared to accept a less aggressive and a less brutal version of the NFL moving forward if it means more safety for the players. And I think that's something I know we've all glorified growing up. Even when I played. Are you gonna put them in? Are you gonna put them in skirts? I mean, are you gonna put flags on them like flags on them? What exactly do you mean by less aggressive? I mean, less aggressive. I'm talking about for the safety of the players. I mean, I think that's what we have to come to. I mean, if we play this tape through to the end, I mean, this can become a lawsuit that could. I mean, it may not. I don't think it can bankrupt the NFL, but it can severely damage the image of the NFL. And the last thing we want to see happen, and I remember Colin Cowherd said this a while ago when they, I don't know if your listeners realize, but when there's a big hit, they don't run a lot of replays on it. When there's fights, they take the camera off of the players during the games. They don't really glorify the big hits by playing them over and over again like they used to. They are right now purposefully.
NFL Films was built on big hits. It was built on that's what really makes the NFL. That's to jump in, but that's what makes the NFL the powerhouse that it is now. It's Steve and Ed Sable and John Facenda doing those Super Bowl videos showing Dick Butkus knocking people out in the '60s. Showing Frank Gifford, who just recently died. He was knocked out by Chuck Bednarik from the Packers, and there's this shot of him just lying down on the ground. He looks like he's deceased on the field. That's what helped the NFL get to what it is today. It's a violent sport. That's why people like it. That's what they show on ESPN.
Now, listen, you're absolutely right that is the history of it. But I charge you all now, everyone, you and everyone listening, when you watch NFL games now, they're going to be big hits. They're going to show the hits. But you're absolutely, if they show the hit, they're going to tag onto it. He was okay. He got double checked. I mean, there is a very conscious effort by the NFL to reduce the level of brutality that is displayed in the sport. I mean, it's still brutal. I mean, it doesn't change it, but this is a PR game right now that they're trying to address, as well as trying to come up with better technology in the helmets. They're trying to do all that they can to reduce the concussions of the players, because it's a very serious issue that they have to deal with. I mean, the CTE is chronic traumatic encephalopathy. I mean, I think I pronounced that correct. But,
you got it. You nailed it.
It is a very serious issue that the NFL has to deal with, both from a legal standpoint, a health standpoint, and a public relations standpoint. And so I have to prepare myself as the consumer to accept fewer highlights and celebrations of the big hits, of the knockouts. I never forget when Deshaun Jackson, when they're playing against Atlanta Falcons 2 years ago. And he got smacked. I mean, it was literally to the point where I couldn't watch it again. I mean, just imagining being pummeled in that fashion is just really beyond most of our beliefs. But the last thing we want to have happen, and God forbid, but Colin Cowherd said this a while ago, last thing NFL wants to have happen is have a death on the field. And, I know that seems absurd. But the players are moving at such speed right now versus the days of Dick Butkus. I mean, these are brutal times, but the speed of the players now, the strength of the players is far beyond what it was 20 and 30 years ago. And we are not out of the realm of possibility that one hit can be so brutal that it could put somebody in a coma and a long term damage, even to death. And so that is a nightmare for the NFL. And quite frankly, we would all mourn the reality of that situation, and I'd rather them take the steps on the front end to preserve the sport, because that could absolutely put a serious death blow, no pun intended, to the sport long term if something like that were to happen. So I think as a consumer, we need to be prepared for that. I don't know what that looks like. I know the football that I grew up with. I mean, I grew up with the hard-hitting Philadelphia Eagles with Jerome Brown, Clyde Simmons, Reggie White.
Here we go.
Steph Joyner.
Had to get your Philadelphia.
Listen. I'm always going to endorse my team. You know what I mean? But the reality is,
you forgot Donovan McNabb throwing up all over the field in the Super Bowl, but go on.
Yeah, well, listen. Donovan McNabb didn't lose the Super Bowl. The defense lost the Super Bowl for them, but they couldn't stop the Patriots from getting the NFL.
It's hard to win a Super Bowl when you look at your quarterback and it's that time to go down the field and win the game, and he's bent over in the huddle regurgitating his chunky soup. But I digress.
No. The problem was that the balls were too squishy. They were deflated. That was the issue. It had nothing to do with McNabb. It was the defense couldn't hold on to the ball when Tom Brady kept on getting them, and all the videotape that they had on the Eagles. But anyway, so the reality is, I grew up on that hard smash mouth hitting football. And I know changing a culture is very difficult, and we've become comfortable with that culture. But we've got to understand that we've built another culture in this society. Some people say maybe it's too PC, politically correct, maybe not. But the reality is there are direct, significant health risks, and the NFL is being sued by the players. And so, I mean, these are going to be real-time not consequences. I would just say results of this research being made manifest, and these lawsuits, and just our compassion, our human compassion. We don't want to see people injured long term.
Advent Sports Network is a 503c charity. All advertising proceeds from the Lance J Radio Show are used to fund nationwide youth sports programs and the Advent Sports Network Mentorship and Development Institute, which provides opportunities for young aspiring Christian journalists to cover athletic events and produce sports-related programming.